Did you know Disney tried to enter the open world gaming genre back in 2010 but failed? It all started at E3 in 2009, where we saw our first gameplay of Pirates of the Caribbean Armada of the Damned, Disney's first attempt at an open world game based on the beloved Pirates of the Caribbean film franchise. The game was set 10 to 15 years after the events in Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl movie. But as E3 2009 came to a close, many reviewers that saw and played the game made their reviews and compared the game to Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed, which was at the time a very loved game. But as of today, if the game was to come out, it would be most similar to Assassin's Creed Black Flag and maybe a little bit of Sea of Thieves. But let's dive into why it would be like those games. So how was the game? Well, the plot was that there was going to be a protagonist called James Sterling. He was a young adventurer from a poor family who sought fame and fortune by becoming a pirate. On his first voyage, however, Sterling was killed, but was mysteriously revived by a supernatural force, granting him a second chance at life. Since this game was an open world game, the gameplay loop was that the player could choose one of two paths, one being legendary or the other being dreaded. The legendary path would portray Sterling as a well-respected pirate who acted with honor, while the dreaded path would lead him to become feared and mysterious as a pirate. These choices would affect the character's development, gameplay, and interaction and quests around the world. Combat was split between land and sea. On land, players used light and heavy attacks to create combos with the option to curse enemies for added effects, and at sea, players commanded and customized ships called nemesises, which could be upgraded based on crew choices. Sea battles allowed players to maneuver the ship, fire cannons, or board enemy ships for hand-to-hand combat, earning loot that can be sold to merchants on the island. Now we have to understand why this game was cancelled and the development process of the game, because it's a little weird how Disney went about this. Propaganda Games was a studio that was founded in 2005 and is now owned by Disney Interactive Studios, which developed the game. The studio was established by former employees of EA Canada and now focused on developing games exclusively for Disney. But this wasn't their first game, because Propaganda's first game was Turco, which was a super successful first-person shooter, so the team definitely had a lot of talent when it came to making games. But after the success of Turco, they began to work on the Pirates of the Caribbean game, because at the time, the vice president of Propaganda Games said it's a universe fans will be dying to explore. But this is also where it gets a little rocky. You see, it wasn't only one game that they were making and putting all their focus onto, it was actually two games. But earlier in October of that year, Disney Interactive Studios announced that the Pirates of the Caribbean games development team would be laid off as part of a reconstructing program. However, Propaganda Games would finish development of Tron Evolution and its post-launch downloadable content. Sadly, the restructuring reduced the studio's staff by more than 100 people and led to the cancellation of the Pirates of the Caribbean game. The remaining development team worked to finish on Tron Evolution, whose team was also affected by the layoffs. However, after the game failed to gain any commercial success, Disney canceled their plans for downloadable content for Tron Evolution and then would close Propaganda Games completely. If you want to see other canceled video games, click on the screen now.